No, well, we don't have them here tonight, but they confirm they confirm the results that we received from the generator.
We don't trust you.
All right. I can't answer that. I can't speak for EPA. But we are here.
Clarify parts per million. I'm sorry, I might have started that. It was parts per million, not billion, but million. So
Parts per million. So by way of context, it's akin to 1 cup of water in an Olympic-sized swimming pool.
I'll speak to all of that momentarily.
Sure.
Did you send that to independent labs for testing?
Yeah, we send our sample out to a third-party lab.
More than one lab?
We only use 1 lab, correct?
Yes.
No. It's we use a different lab from them. It's a separate lab.
You can't even control a meeting. How's he going to control the toxic issues?
Okay.
Trust me, if you want to hear what I have to say, your life depends on it. Let's let him talk.
Okay, so now I'd like to turn it over to Eric Chris. Eric runs the landfill here. He's going to talk a little bit about how the operation works.
So I'm Eric Chris. I run the landfill out in Rochdale. So I brought this little, can you hear me okay? All right. So we brought this, it kind of shows our design of our landfill. So the landfill itself, we start out with a under drain layer of sand, put in a 3 feet of compacted soil that has very low hydraulic conductivity. So essentially the liquids can't go through that material very easily. On top of that, we put in a PVC liner system, which has very low permeability material. Then we have a leak detection system, so that if there's any leaks, it would be detected and still contained within the landfill cell. We then have a geosynthetic clay layer, which is bentonite infused material that will absorb any liquids that would come in contact with it. Class of well? This is, we do not have a well on site. We do not do any type of deep well injection. Our company does not have a deep well. So we have a landfill. So that's why we're only receiving soil. Contaminated.
This landfill is built on top of an aquifer that gives all of us water.
Are you aware of that, sir? Are you aware of that? 25 grandkids, babies, sit out here. Where do
So-
we start?
The landfill then has a leachate collection system. So it's piping that will, as liquids percolate through the landfill, it's all collected on top of that liner system. And then the rainwater, as rain rains onto the landfill, that leachate is then transported off-site of the facility and disposed of at another facility. How the detection system works. So yeah, we monitor the detection system and look for the volumes that are removed from the detection system. Where our permit establishes leakage rates. So if we have a leak, then we have to report it to the regulatory agencies. No, so every day when we receive material in, we will open up a section into the landfill. We will dump that material in, we compact it, And then at the end of the day, we bring clean soil in and cover it every day. So that way it's never exposed to the environment. No. We have multiple pieces of equipment. So we have a piece of equipment that pushes the contaminated material in. Then you manually clean the tracks, or we can wash the tracks out. Now, all the contamination stays at the landfill working phase. So any contamination is then pushed into and covered with clean soil. So the inbound loads never drive on waste. So they're only driving on gravel and clean soil. And when they dump, then before they leave the site, they go through a wheel wash that then washes any just mud off of it. But they're not tracking through waste. No. The only piece of equipment in the waste is a bulldozer that compacts the waste down. So. No, it's well above the water table.
How many feet? We'd like specifics. This is our water table. This is our drinking water. This is what grows our farm.
Our animals, and they're all dying in Ohio. So we have a right to cover that.
I'm more worried about the kids than I am the animals. Yes, everyone.
We also have, part of our permit, we have monitoring wells installed around the entire system. So those wells are in the water table. So we're monitoring the water that's flowing underneath the landfill. So that's how we detect, another method of detection if there was any leakage, because we have these wells that are in that water table you're discussing.
But this is self-regulatory.
It is above the water table here. Why don't we send the ship to where it's not going to poison somebody's water instead?
Or the facility.
Why your facility?
How can you make sure that
Did you guys win the bid?
contaminate
We can go ahead and start the questions and
your
answers.
children in all that? Are you gonna have somebody sit there on it 24/7, watching it? Can I ask a question before you shut up, please?
Do we have the sign-up sheet so we can go through? Start with is Carolyn Huff here?
I'm so sorry, I apologize to be rude. Do you mind if I go first? I promise you will not regret it. I'll tell you. My name is Rudy Guerrero. My wife and I found our dream property a year ago in Rochdale. We moved here. We have 5 kids. We homeschool. We're Christians. We're conservatives. We love God. I'm an ex-scientist. I've done virology research. I've done microbiology. I no longer do that now, but I intimately dove into this topic as soon as it happened. And yesterday, my mom called me and told me it's coming to my backyard. So I'm going to take about 90 seconds to inform you about something that no one is wanting to talk about. And that is a word called dioxin. D-I-O-X-I-N. Dioxin. And when the train that had fluorinated chemicals combined with ordinary hydrocarbon plastics, it created something called chlorinated dioxin. This just so happens to be the most toxic compound that man knows. It was accidentally discovered in 1949 when there was an explosion in the Monsanto facility in Virginia. And from then, they've been doing numerous studies, and they know that A, it is a multi-generational toxin that will impair the fertility of your children, that will cause cancers, that if your children do have babies, they will suffer miscarriages prior to having those babies, and it is a slow toxic death. Now, Furthermore, dioxin was what? Was the pernicious compound in Agent Orange. We all know Agent Orange, all right? In Vietnam, that is why Agent Orange was so toxic, is because of dioxins. It is what is called a PBT, persistent, it doesn't go away, bioaccumulative, meaning it goes into the water, it goes into the grass, the cows eat it, we eat the steak, the dairy, the cheese, it comes to us. A nursing mother passes it along to her suckling child, okay? It doesn't go away. And it is toxic to degrees that are actually mind-boggling. Dr. Peter Montague, PhD, Environmental Research Foundation, gave this example. With 325 milligram aspirin, all right? If you divide that amongst 32 million adults, that is a lifetime toxic level, all right? If that's hard to wrap your head around, one tiny grain of salt divided amongst 9,000 adults is lifetime toxic, all right? So the EPA standard is that this is 1 million times more toxic than arsenic, and 100 truckloads of dioxin contaminated soil with about 2,000 tons is on our way, and it will be generational landslide. I'm almost done, halfway there. Learning from our examples of the past, there's a city called Times Beach, Missouri. Times Beach, Missouri. Try to go there now. It doesn't exist because of dioxin contamination, and the city literally had to be leveled and incinerated, all right? Research by Monsanto, Bayer, Dow, BASF has all shown since the 1950s that dioxin is a multi-generational cancer-producing fertility toxin, all right? Now, let's get to action. There have been companies, and our owners are in Chicago. I don't know how many of you live next door. I believe you do. Do you, sir? Or do you do not? Okay. So, what the company could do is they could do the right thing and say, you know what? We're a profitable company already. We should not be receiving these dioxin-contaminated materials here in this community. So we're going to do right. We're going to do right and list the consequences and say, no, keep it there, deal with it there, because the city of East Palestine is already should be contaminated. And you would be loved in the community for that, okay? So last few things. Eric Holcomb needs to be demanded to write an executive order to stop this. He wrote executive orders that would not allow me to be 6 feet from this gentleman without wearing a face diaper. He should be demanded to write an executive order to stop this. As well, Representative Bo Baird needs to do everything in his power. Our commissioners, Dave Barry, Rick Riddle, and Thomas Helmer need to do everything in their power. I don't know, Dave, why you passed me along to someone else yesterday. I thought you were the man that I needed to talk to, but we need our commissioners to step up. I have 100 pieces of paper here with a website, libertydefense.us/toxic waste. This is a legitimate political petition that we can use to make something happen. I have 100 handouts. I want you to be equipped. This, if we do not fix this, I tell you, if we do not fix this, we will become a documentary in 10 years.
Carolyn Huff. Is there Carolyn Huff?
My name is Carolyn Huff. I live in southern Putnam County, and thank you to the gentleman who just spoke. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes, actually a couple seconds. I just have a couple questions. It's been reported that Heritage is currently in non-compliance status. It's also been reported that there's been 12 quarters of violation. I don't know if you could speak to that. I don't know if they're consecutive, but my understanding that that has happened in at least the last 5 years. So I don't know how good I feel about that.
Thank you. I can speak to the alleged non-compliance issue. No.
Of a leak. And I know for a fact for the last 2 months, there has been core drilling going on all around 236 from the Hebron Cemetery and up north and around your landfill. And I, sir, used to work at that landfill. I know what goes on there. I can tell you without any doubt that I know that there is contamination that gets out of there. I have lived in it. And I know for a fact that everybody here has fished or recreation in Raccoon Lake or in Raccoon Creek. And I know farm animals and farmers around this land. I hunt and fish, as well as most everybody here. I know for a fact, from working there, that there is contamination that gets out. That wheel wash is a freaking joke. I drove through it. I used to be a timber truck driver out there. So you're not going to blow smoke up mine. I've been there. And I know for a fact, from my wife looked it up on EPA website today, that you have been in violation for the last 12 quarters. That's 3 straight years.
And nobody has done anything about it.
How can we trust somebody that's been in violation?
No, well,
They don't care about us. You don't care about us.
that's not true. Let me give you a chance to explain what the violation says.
We do not want
How dare you guys?
That EPA website for that particular issue is inaccurate.
Greta Thunberg would hate you.
The alleged non-compliance, was related to a labeling issue for a container.
What's your dioxin
The, well, let me explain how that website works, if I may.
Please do. Please.
May I,
Let him explain. Let him tell us how
give me a chance to explain that, and I'll-
Tell us. Tell us, please.
Sir, you have a violation.
Tell us how it felt.
there's been no release from that landfill. What you found on the website relates to a labeling issue. And that labeling issue was already addressed with Indiana Department of Environmental Management. And the reason why that shows as 12 consecutive quarters is until they close that out from a paperwork perspective, in their office, they leave that issue as open on that website. So it appears that you've been out of compliance for that long, but that's not really the case.
How long have you been? How long have you been out of compliance?
That labeling issue was corrected
How long have you
immediately.
been out of compliance? Answer that question. If they're wrong, how long has it been?
We haven't been.
Are you kidding me? All right. He said it. We all
I said
heard
it.
it. If we find out you were lying, then what? What ramifications do you have for lying to us?
Sir,
What
I'm not,
ramifications do you have for lying to us if you did today?
well, sir, I'm not lying to you.
If you are, what
that
ramifications?
you're not lying. Where's the proof that you're not lying?
I'm sorry?
Or Zionsville or wherever you live.
Because he doesn't want to answer the question.
Which all of our wells pull from. Even in
Now,
the
this-
county, I can say nothing
this
about
is-
it
this-
because I live across the
This
line.
facility is specifically designed for this type of material. I can't hear everybody yelling at the same time.
What's getting put in your pocket?
The material that came to us was not There's no dioxin profile for that material. We don't accept dioxin at the landfill.
Why no profile? Did you test for them?
It is a common chemical reaction between the chlorine-based chemicals.
Is there a grade, Fran?
Thank you. My name's Greg Cram. I'm a lifelong resident of Roachdale. I'm sure many of you know me or my family. We've lived here for many years. And I think we're all here tonight because we have seen on our television screens every night what happened when a giant corporation, Norfolk Southern, imposed an involuntary risk on citizens of a small town, East Palestine, Ohio. Now we have another corporation that is wanting to impose that risk on us. And the reason we're here tonight is to get some answers to those questions. And honestly, after what I've heard so far, the question I'd like to ask you people is how do you sleep at night? But I'll ask a more specific question here, which is how long do the materials that you plan to receive at this facility, how long do you say they will be harmful to the people in this community, potentially? Assuming the worst case, that this containment failed.
The materials would not pose a risk to human health and the environment because they are contained. That's what the system is designed to do, is to be an end-of-life disposal for materials.
Well, with all due respect, the question I asked was when the containment failed, how harmful would they be? But moving on, a question perhaps for your COO also. Is a Heritage Environmental, as part of its plan, establishing a fund for the environmental damage that it could potentially cause in this community? Is it going to set aside some sort of ability to compensate people in this town when they are inevitably harmed?
As part of a hazardous waste facility, can you hear me? Okay. My voice isn't very strong. As part of a hazardous waste facility, in order to get that permit, you have to set up what's called a closure fund. And that fund shows that the company is financially viable so that when the facility does close, you have the means to maintain it for 30 years. Hey, we're here to answer your questions, but yelling and screaming, it's hard to hear.
How old is the facility? When was the last time
Let me
they
answer that. You, right there, let me answer him, okay?
How old are your liners?
No, I don't.
Exactly. Why are you here?
Hey, we're here to answer questions,
You didn't
okay?
answer his question.
I will if you'll shut up, okay?
It's a number.
I'm sorry. I want to be respectful, but you guys are not being respectful either. So please let me answer your question. So the unit was built in 1981. The way a landfill is built is you build a cell at a time, okay? And you fill that up to a certain level, and then you build the next cell. The unit that was built in 1981 through, I think it was 2001, 11, okay. That unit is now closed.
What question do you think he asked?
He asked how long.
Create a fund and you're BS.
No, he didn't ask that, sir. He asked how long, how old it was.
No, they already said 1980 opened in 81.
I'm trying to.
About the fund.
Okay. I'm still trying to answer your question. Okay. So once a cell is filled, and then you get up to the permitted limit of that structure, you're done. So then you build a new cell, and then you build a new cell. Correct.
If there is a leak, then we have to report it to the regulatory agency, and we have to go through and do a remediation. So we're on the hook for that.
Within how much time, please? Within how much time? After you notice a leak, how long do you have to report it?
After you find a leak, oh, immediately. 24 hours. Yeah. No, for the entire site.
What happens if this company goes bankrupt?
So that's why you have the closure fund. That fund is actual money sitting in a bank.
For how long?
Forever. If we go bankrupt, that money is there for the state.
How much was it? It doesn't matter. Dioxin has no business in a landfill. They can only be incinerated. They have no business. Has the contract already been signed?
Is there a,
Hey, you take your stuff.
I think it's Scott Cox?
Good question.
Steve Cox?
My name's Steve Cox. I live in Rosedale. Don't have a whole lot of questions left to ask because a lot of I do have a question that's pretty important. When did our governor know that this was going on? When did our governor know this was going on?
The question was, when did our governor know this was going on?
I believe it was the beginning of the week. Beginning of the week.
As of today, my understanding was that he wasn't informed. I think we knew about it maybe even before he did. Why not? I mean, is it important with this being a state? I think that we want to protect him. Yeah, I mean, and with due cause. I mean, don't you have some responsibility in that? When? The beginning of the week. You talked to Holcomb the beginning of the week. What? My question was, when did you talk to Holcomb? When did he know about it?
We've been in contact with the Indiana Department of Environmental Management and their staff, and of course, they work for Governor Holcomb. I do not know when the governor found out.
I mean, the question is, how does these people, as first responders, have any kind of time frame to be able to even get ready for something like this? The first responders. I mean, people that are going to be dealing with, how do they get prepped, even for the meeting tonight?
I'm not sure why the first responders would need to be ready for it.
Why not? Like this? There's more of this in that landfill. Well, no, it's not. That's the problem. Well, I guess with everything else that's been asked, I guess the only thing I have left to say is that I really don't think you guys come here to ease our conscience or do anything to help us. You really don't care. Well, I think everybody in this building feels that way.
You wouldn't take it.
We do not accept the dioxins at the Rosedale landfill.
How do you know?
What was the testing level?
Is there a Jim Deringer here? A Deringer?
Well, thank you. I'm a Vietnam veteran. Project of Agent Orange I'm going to have to deal with the rest of my life. I think we need a test before this material comes to this site to make sure that it doesn't have dioxin in it. My other question is, isn't there another landfill closer to eastern Ohio that could accept this material and not have to truck it? This doesn't make sense to me at all.
I do not believe that there is a landfill that's closer that could accept the material. From what I understand, we are one of the facilities that EPA designated. It's not a matter of material being hard to take, it's that they have so much material in Ohio that they've got to split it amongst a bunch of different facilities that are permitted to take that kind of material.
Is there a Laura Scott?
No, I'm good. Trust me, I won't get applause here. My name is Laura Scott. I live in Section 23 of Franklin Township on top of the Tipton Till Aquifer system. I will explain why that aquifer is important in just a minute. I'm not a geologist or a chemist, and I have served on the Putnam County Board of Zoning Appeals for about 15 years plus. I'm not here to criticize Heritage Environmental because I believe the work of the organization meets a very important need in our country. I do, however, have some questions and concerns about the long-term operation of the hazardous waste facility. As I understand the practice of hazardous waste disposal in a landfill, the waste is to be contained within a double liner system. In very simplistic terms, the liner system works kind of like a super heavy-duty garbage bag, super heavy-duty, really expensive garbage bag, which is intended to prohibit surface water or rainwater from entering the bag and any waste from leaching out to enter either the surface water system, as in Raccoon Creek, or the below ground aquifer system. Is that correct? That's correct. Thank you. Given the location of this landfill in Russell Township, it's in sections 2 and 11. The hazardous waste is being stored above the Tipton Till Aquifer system, a very significant unconsolidated aquifer system in Putnam County. This aquifer runs east to west from about section 17 in Jackson Township, or about where Rachel and Steve Crosby live, to section 16 in Russell Township, which is about where Dale McGoy lives. That is one continuous, unconsolidated aquifer that runs through 3 townships and in Montgomery County as well. This is from the DNR, the Division of Water. This information is available online, as well as a lot of other information. Slightly to the north of the Tipton Till Aquifer, there are deeper unconsolidated aquifers, and from these aquifers, Bainbridge takes its water from a public supply well. It's a very big well. Nucor Steel has high capacity wells as well,
and they are within the same area as well as in Montgomery County. I don't mean to do a play on words there. The biggest concern I have, bar none, over the long haul is the potential contamination of these aquifers with hazardous chemicals. Therefore, my questions to you all, and please let them answer, because if we can't hear what their responses are, just getting mad at them isn't going to accomplish anything. Number one, of what material is the 41-year-old liner made?
The synthetic liners we use is made of PVC, and that's what it kind of shows on here.
It's not butyl. It's not butyl rubber.
No. I know on the news there was, I think Tom inadvertently said rubber on the news yesterday. So it is not made of rubber. It is made of PVC, and that's why we kind of made this up so people can see all the layers of protection.
What is the functional life of the liner? No matter how much testing you do, when is the liner likely to fail, given it has to have a lifespan?
Hundreds of years. I couldn't give an actual number, but it's hundreds of years. And if you think about PVC in your house, if you have PVC in your house, you're not having to go through and replace your plumbing every 10, 20, 50 years. And this is not like your plumbing that would be in your house. Like you mentioned, this is very, very durable materials made specifically for this application.
How thick is it? It fills. Is it thicker than a pool liner?
Yes, much thicker than a pool liner. It's 30 mils.
30 mils? How thick is that bulletin board you're standing right next to right now?
And remember, you have multiple layers of protection. And then the bigger thing, the groundwater monitoring wells surrounding the entire facility is tested on a periodic basis. We're testing those all year long. And if there was some type of leak that would get into the water, that's where it would show up in those monitoring wells, immediately, and we'd have to take action.
However, if it does show up in the monitoring wells, and you're talking about acres of where this waste is stored, what you gonna do? I mean, it's going to fail at some point. It might not be in my lifetime, I've got white hair, but it will fail at some point. What's the plan at that point?
And remember, we have the leak detection too. So that's why the action would happen before it would ever leak through the multiple layers of protection. So if it did penetrate through the primary layer and we had detection in that leakage detection system, that's when action would be implemented, not to the point where it would break down through all the multiple layers. So we try to have multiple layers of protection.
At what point will the current landfill reach its capacity?
Approximately another 50 to 75 years.
And what will Heritage Environmental do with this hazardous waste landfill when the current space is filled?
It'll be closed, and what we do, and we do partial closures as we go along. So very similar to the protection system that goes below. So we actually put a synthetic liner over the cover protective dirt that's covering the waste. And then we put cover soil on top of that. So in the end, and everything is welded together. So in the end, it is completely enclosed over the top and the bottom with multiple layers in the bottom. So, and then it'll go into the post-closure phase.
On the Indiana Department of Environmental Management's website, IDEM site, the following is written. Landfills are used as final disposal sites. They are monitored during their entire active life, including closure and the post-closure period. Here in Putnam County, we think in terms of generations of life, not merely about what the profit is of an organization for a quarter or for a single year. If the water supply is contaminated with hazardous waste materials, Heritage Environmental will be responsible for exploiting Putnam County's generous water resources and its residents for corporate benefit, not for the environmental cleanup that you have promoted in the short term. Your hazardous waste landfill is not a 41-year project. It will involve future generation who will live in Putnam County for hundreds of years to come. I do have some of these aquifer maps. I don't have a ton, but if anybody wants one after it's all said and done, come up to me and I'll. I think, I'm not a geologist, but my son but I think, well, yeah, I agree, and I've asked myself that same question. Why would you put a hazardous waste facility on top of an aquifer? And what we have in the northern part of the county is just exceptional compared to the southern part of the county. But one of the things that I understand you look for is how you have to engineer that space. And if you have some of the ravines that we have where you already have, you've already got space to put things in. Am I close on this? I mean, how do you select a site? What's the basis for selecting a site?
It comes down to the geology of the site. So, where the bedrock layers are at, the consistency of the soil, the type of soil. Is there a Russell Rick?
To tell your boss that you feel this should go elsewhere for incineration, not for landfill. Do you? I don't believe it. I believe the most responsible thing to do is to bring it. You're not answering my question. Do you have the authority to tell your boss that dioxins need to be incinerated and should not be brought to Indiana? Okay, you're lying. Answer the question. Let's go.
My question is, my son worked for your company 25 years ago. Now, I've heard what you said about the PVC. How does neoprene become PVC? He had not welded, but glued. And we got to get something straight here, because PVC, rubber, neoprene cannot be welded. It has to be glued. Okay. What happens
to neoprene, after it's been in the earth for a certain length of time, it deteriorates. Okay.
Directly. Thank you, state reps that are here. We need to get Holcomb's attention.
Why would you think
Can't get his attention.
okay.
Can everybody hear me now? Hey, I got a big mouth, so I can talk. It's a hustle. He's like everyone.
The question was about neoprene liner in the landfill.
We should have
There's never been neoprene liner that I know of in our landfill.
maybe that you don't know of. My son worked there 25 years. He brought some of that home that they gave him. Up until probably maybe a few years ago, I had some of that stuff. Okay. I do know that. But my son's a Christian boy. I'm not Christian, but he is. He told me what he had planned. He worked. He helped move the stuff down. So, with that known, now there's a lot of people here probably saying Chick-fil-A and all of that didn't happen, but it did happen. And my question is, what if it's PVC, neoprene, or rubber, like the thing for the corner, some kind of dirt will be created. Even the PVC, the drains, your new pipeline, whatever you say, has a tendency of wearing out. All right, now, the next question is a little bit. You put toxic waste, acid, whatever else you put on top of it, that's going to create the problems even more so than what is already there. I think I'm speaking for the people here. Our children does not, and I don't have kids right now, but our children does not need to go through this. We cannot even drink our water right now because they really don't taste all that great. But we buy our water. We go to the store and buy our water. Yeah, it's good enough to take a bath in. It's good enough to wash your clothes and everything. But over a period of years, we're talking 40 years already, right? Okay, 40 years, and you're saying this thing can last 100 years. Can you honestly tell me and tell these people that it'll last 100 years and would you live right beside it like I do? Can you tell me that?
I do live right beside it. I live within a mile of the landfill, and I'm on a freshwater well too.
I live 2 houses from where we get our water at, right there at Russellville Store. I'm one of the few here that gets their water first before anybody else gets it. How much more is it going to damage these people here when it gets to their house? Can you tell me that water's going to be just as pure when it gets to their house as it was here? If there is a spillage or there isn't, and how long did it take you to determine that people there? Do you monitor this every day, every hour, every minute?
We monitor every single day. It's part of our permit. We have required inspections of both the closed unit and the currently operating unit. So we have to check to make sure the leak detection system, make sure we're not getting flow, out of that system that would be above our the leakage rate.
All right, one more place. I heard on TV, I heard on different newscasters that it's coming to Indiana and not to worry about it because it wasn't that toxic. Right? Did you hear this? Did anybody else hear this?
I heard on TV when it was coming to Indiana that it wasn't that toxic. Now, have you heard that on TV? I have. Okay, if it ain't that toxic, then why can't they bury it at the site where it was already at? They're going to put a new the railroad tracks there anyhow. Why can't they put it there if it's not that toxic? Oh, guarantee you it's that toxic, but it wouldn't be here because they don't want it there. And do you have, your company, do you have the knowledge to say, hey, the people here don't want it, we don't want it here? Or do you not want to say that to protect the people and to protect your interests? Thank you very much.
Yes. We've received 3 truckloads of the material already.
They don't care what we got to say. They're going to do it already. They're already doing it.
The contract's already been signed.
Jim Hipsher.
Why didn't you have this meeting before you brought those 3 truckloads?
Jim Hipsher.
When were the trucks? They were accepted today and they were dumped today. We're not poisoning you. The material is isolated in one of the most protected landfills in the country.
Good evening, Putnam County. My next question is, anyone working for Heritage, raise their hand. I don't blame you, I'd be afraid to raise mine too. Anybody working for the railroad?
Does anyone work for the railroad?
What area? Anyway.
Well, of course, I'm talking about the area up there by East Palestine, where we're going to get this crap from. And it's obvious, ladies and gentlemen, we do not want it. And nobody wants it. And you know what we forgot to do when we started this meeting? We forgot the power of God. And He can answer our questions and resolve this issue. And He can close that thing up and protect all of us, our well water. I think she's trying to take this away from me. Isn't that like a woman? Isn't that like a wife? All you men out there, come on, let's hear it.
I have a question. How much money did you get? And I'd like to know also,
who okayed this?
I'm not sure myself what the monetary compensation is.
This is material that we are allowed to accept at this landfill by permit. And the approval from the perspective of the incident in Ohio would have come from EPA. The EPA designated several approved facilities for that material to be sent to, including ours.
Well, now that we're all worked up, I'm going to ask a prayer. I'm going to ask our Father. Let me get my hat off because I want to show my reverence. Father, I'm a little late in saying this, but I'm asking that you'll touch each of us, and that you will resolve this issue for us, and that you'll place your guardian, a large guardian shield over each and every one of us for our homes and families. Excuse me, but I'm awfully dry, and I don't see any water around here except maybe tainted water. Is that nice? I'm getting a dirty look here, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm only fun with you. Here, I'm done.
Pat Bennett. Pat Bennett.
Good evening. So I was curious about the specific routes that these trucks are taking, what kind of safety precautions are on these vehicles, and if God forbid there were some type of accident involving these vehicles, what kind of protection and training is available for those first responders that might be on site, and what kind of dangers they may be in. And also, I don't think anybody here is satisfied with your answer about the non-compliance issue. If it was just a labeling issue, then why did it go on for 3 years and apparently seems to still be going on? And why was it not addressed, and how is that being addressed? That's also
But for the non-compliance issue, what happens is when you resolve something with the agency, so in this case it was with IDEM. Now this is an EPA database, but everything that even we deal with IDEM ends up on that database. So we had an issue with the labeling. We fixed it immediately. The agency doesn't close that out in their files for some period of time. As long as that remains open, they leave that open on that database. So it looks like you're out of compliance until they decide to close the file. But in fact, that's where the inaccuracy comes in.
So you're saying that it was accurate the whole time, but the EPA has just not updated their site, and that they're incorrect? Because earlier you said that the EPA site was wrong.
To the extent that it says we're out of compliance for 12 consecutive quarters, that is incorrect.
Why don't you push
So, we've tried to work with them on that database forever. They just won't change it. So it shows, until they decide to close the file. And since that's not a priority for them, it's open.
All right, so I don't think anybody is satisfied with that answer, but I will go back to the issue with the first responders. If there is some sort of accident in transport, what's being done about that? What preparations do you have in place for that?
So all the trucks and drivers are certified under DOT and EPA regulations. And in the event of an accident, all the companies that operate in this area have a network of emergency response contracts in place. So if something were to happen, if the truck were to overturn on the way, there would be an immediate response. That network would get activated and the response would happen, material would get cleaned up.
We are. So you would respond and clean it up on our road?
We could if we were the closest one to it, yes.
Angela Marie. there are loads going, like Ali mentioned earlier, we're one of multiple facilities taking waste from East Palestine. No, I mean, they did a controlled burn on site. I can't hear you.
How could there not be any dioxins in this matter that you received in 3 truckloads? How could there not be dioxins? How could there not be dioxins? It's plausible and I feel like test for dioxins.
When are we gonna see the test results? That's the question.
I'm sorry to be your interruption, guys. I am not from your community, but you guys are in my backyard, and I felt it was my duty to come here and save the small towns of Indiana. My question to you is, there is a partition in the southeastern part of Indiana, close to Ohio and Kentucky, that has absolutely no aqueduct on it. Why do you insist on poisoning us as citizens in our own backyard, and why are your leaders, your house leaders, not here, and why have they sold you out to a company? That's my question. You say that you don't know who signed that? I call BS. You know who signed it. You may not know personally, but you can look up that paperwork on a computer. You can find out who okayed it. And with your little diagram here, you say you're going to be monitoring it. Is that AI monitoring? Is it computer network monitoring? They can be hacked. Yeah, it can. You stay right there because I have the microphone and they can hear you just fine. You said it's under layers of ground. How are you going to monitor it for a leak?
The way it's designed, we can get, it has sump risers that go down to the sump level and pumps that pump in the liquid up to the ground.
So there's a way for it to get flooded and backdraft back up onto the land.
We have sensors inside of the sump risers.
So it is computer monitored.
Pipes are underground, and then we have readouts above ground, but they are not hooked to any type of external network. That shows
Then how can you monitor if it's not hooked to an external network?
we monitor it on site. We monitor it every single day on site.
So there's a human taking the numbers down and reporting to who? Who gets that from the workers? And are the workers, no offense guys, but I would not work there. Who's going to be working this land? Who's going to be facing that poison daily? And how do you plan on keeping it out of Turkey Creek? How do you plan on keeping it out of my grandchildren's water? It's bad enough that we have to buy bottled water because of the taste of it. I want to know what your company is going to do to ensure that my grandchildren can give me great-grandchildren and that their children will be able to play in the water, to have pools. And this is not going to be another Aaron Brockovich town.
The landfill, that's why it's specifically designed the way it is to keep those contaminants in a permanent spot, you know, for the forever. So that it would never get out into the environment to contaminate anybody's water supply. So there's facilities like this across the nation, and they serve a purpose. Because without those facilities, before RECRA laws and before we had facilities like this, that's when you had situations like Aaron Brockovich, like you said, where raw chemicals got into water supplies, contaminated drinking water. So that's why it's designed the way it is, to be able to keep that material at a safe place.
You can't guarantee that, though. Your company can't guarantee it. There's 1,000 and there's 850,000 BCA, well, contaminated
how many of those have failed? Because the failure is only 20 to 30 years. My grandchildren will just be graduating.
And remember, we do not have any type of injection wells on site. We are a landfill.
You want to put layers and you say monitoring the air. How? When trucks, tires don't touch it, how are you supposed to put it on the ground? Is it got leaks?
You have heavy equipment. You're using bulldozers to compact the waste in. And then
But when you bring it in, when you're tracking it from Ohio all the way to another state, instead of leaving it where it is, you want to spread the shit everywhere?
no. The
Move on.
move on. Brian Fletcher. Tomorrow.
I was just curious, how many truckloads do you plan on coming to the facility?
We do not know that yet.
How do you know if you can handle the volume of material that's coming to you? How much capacity do you have at the present to handle material?
That our current estimate is another 50 to 75 years based on the current received volume that we're taking in on a daily basis.
How many tons of this stuff can you put in the ground at this point right now today?
That question I don't know, but the last number that we were given was just an estimate because, like I said, there's different places that this material is going to. It's about 30,000 cubic yards.
How many truckloads are you anticipating to come here at this point?
We don't know. It's just estimates now from the generator.
Why is it here? Why is it here? Why did you guys let it come here? No. I got grandbabies that live down the creeks down here. If that stuff leaks out, this is not good. Why did you let it even come here? You didn't even let us know. It's here already. I have 3 grandbabies that live in this county and more that live down south that were the water that's going down. I got grandbabies that play in that water. And if it leaks, no, it will leak. It will leak. Don't tell me it's not going to leak. I have grandbabies that play in that creek. God help you. God help you. You're going to answer to God for this. You're going to answer to God. Yeah, where's it coming from? Who's transporting it? Yeah, what company?
There's several different third-party trucking companies that are bringing it. All those trucking companies have to have certified equipment with DOT standards to handle that type of material. It's an enclosed vessel, and so
You lost integrity with that one. If you had this meeting set up, you should have had the meeting before material came. Because you lost all face with having material. I already knew you did that. I mean, I already knew. It should have been. Whose control was it in? And nobody.
Why didn't you leave it there? Why didn't you leave it there?
I think that's a cop-out. You still should have known to have the meeting before.
No. It should have went where it was going.
How long have you known the material was coming here?
Yeah, how long?
How long have you personally known the material was coming to this landfill?
the testing and approval was completed yesterday.
You can organize trucks to come within 24-hour period before you let the people of the community to work know? You should have let the people know before you hauled.
There were already trucks loaded on site. that the EPA had sitting on site.
So you already have 3 trucks that are dumpsters.
Correct.
We should have known. We should have informed people.
Question about why you brought it here as a van and supposedly intelligent van that knows how to run a company. Why don't you answer the questions truthfully?
What was your question?
The question is, why did you not let the people of this area know that you are bringing these trucks here before you brought them here? And don't tell me you couldn't have done that. I've been in business.
We did it as soon as we could. The approval, EPA designated several places for this material to go. They were moving it as quickly. This is the most environmentally responsible thing to do with this material is to bring it here, to this facility.
Ken Carrington. Dakota Carlton.
So my question is, why didn't you let everybody know beforehand, and what will happen if it leaks into Raccoon? Because Raccoon dumps into Sugar Creek. We got kids that play in that creek every single day, except for winter because it's always iced over. But we got kids playing in that creek. What's going to happen if it gets in there and they get in there and start playing? It's going to look like Family Guy, where the fucking people go in there and then their hair's falling off. Nobody wants to see that.
There is no leak at the landfill. There is no leak. Just because something is posted on the internet does not mean it's true.
Oh, really? Well, we'll let Fox know you told a lie. This ain't posted on the internet. That is the news.
If you brought 3 truckloads here before you even let us know that it was coming, how can we trust you to even let us know if there is a leak?
We're required to report leaks immediately. I mean, that's part of our remit to the... Cindy Licletto. Maria Worth.
You pulled me over when you were
Maria? Holy Trinity? Yep, okay. I have a question for both of you. We voted you in, the people that are here tonight, and yet you haven't spoke. Why did you allow this to happen? How could it happen without us knowing? Sir, how does the EPA tell you you have to do this, or was this a deal you could say no, or you had to say yes? Did you have an option? Or did the government, the federal government, mandate you're taking this and you do not have a choice? Which is it?
We bid on the work with a number of other companies and happened to win one of the bids. EPA, we did. In EPA, but the way the process apparently was unfolding in Ohio, they were looking to move that material as quickly as possible. And they began sending the material once we got our approval through our approval process. And that was yesterday.
I know that you're going to make a lot of money, as every landfill that takes this shit will. We know, and this community, as you can tell, they don't make $150,000, $200,000 a year. And they raise families here, they grow crops here, they work day and night. You've seen our farmers work hard, our cows, our animals, our children, our grandchildren, my great-grandchild. I have 25 that live in these communities. 25. And you did this without letting us know first, sir? I'm educated. I'm in the medical field. And why didn't you give us the respect to see how we felt before you took this big deal? I just need to know why you didn't care to at least see how it would be received.
This is what we do for a living. We do this on a daily basis. We take material just like this on a daily basis. We, accommodated this meeting as quickly as we could and informing you as quickly as we could. This is as quick as it could have happened based on the timeline leaving from Ohio.
My last question is, I don't believe for 1 second that you don't know the money you're going to make off of this project. And we want to know, if we want our water tested, I have a well on 3 acres outside of Roachdale in the country, and I have a little creek there, and if I want my land and my water tested, is it going to be free? Is the EPA going to pay for this like they're doing in Ohio? Because these chemicals are now here. They're in my community. So will these services be allowed to us?
The two scenarios are not, it's like comparing apples and oranges. Well, I mean, but there's a difference. I mean, the exposure scenario in Ohio was direct. The pure chemical was released in that area, and that's what the people there were exposed to. What's coming here is minimally contaminated soil with some of those chemicals. Then it's going into an isolated landfill where there will be zero contact with humans. Well, one level of confidence you can have is that, we and the regulators both test the groundwater monitoring system around the landfill. And those results are all coming back clean.